right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Dan Graziano of ESPN reported yesterday that despite multiple offers, the New York Jets are the quote-unquote most likely team to land Odell Beckham Jr. Now, we do know some specific teams that have interest in Beckham, like the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. But man, it really does feel like the Beckham Jets rumors just continue to pick up steam as time moves on. I mean, he's tweeting back and forth with like Sauce Gardner. I think he actually replied to Snacks Harrison a couple weeks ago. Snacks tweeted out like a picture of Salah flexing and basically said, "Hey, is Odell coming to the Jets?" And then, of course, Beckham wrote back with the little eyes emoji. So, you know, of course, we've all heard it before. When there's smoke, there's fire, and there seems to be a lot of smoke here. Now, according to Albert Breer, Odell is seeking right around $15 million a season. So maybe Beckham wants a little bit more, maybe he wants a little bit less, depending on the situation. We'll see how it plays out. And of course, there are some factors that we have to talk about, like Beckham experiencing, multiple injuries throughout the course of his career, him missing the entire season a year ago. So I don't know if Beckham is going to get exactly what he wants in the free agency market, but also considering that he has a lot of interest, there's tons of different teams that are interested in him, maybe he does. Right, maybe he does. And I think this is the biggest question. Because look, nobody can deny Beckham's talent. Nobody can look at him and say, man, he's horrible. He makes the roster worse. He's just not a good receiver, right? I think everybody can objectively say, hey, you know what, Odell, yeah, he might not be the top end, top 5, top 10 wide receiver in football, but he can definitely add some juice, add some talent, add some explosiveness to a team, especially a team that needs a wide receiver. And we're looking at the Jets cap situation. And this is where things get a little interesting because the Jets currently have around $9 to $9.8 million in space. This is before the Aaron Rodgers trade. And also taking into consideration the current state of the roster, right? We don't have a center on the team as we stand right now. Of course, they're linked to Connor McGovern, they're linked to Ben Jones, linked to a couple guys in the draft. That's awesome. But as we stand right now, late March here, there's just no center there. That's capable of starting a full season. So it's a position that the Jets have they have to address. Defensive tackle. What's happening there? They lost Sheldon Rankins. They lost Nathan Shepard, missed out on Fletcher Cox, missed out on Calais Campbell. Of course, we could factor in the draft here. Yeah, there's some really good ones, but with not knowing what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and his contract situation, we also don't know exactly what we're going to be giving up to the Green Bay Packers because it's going to cost assets. I think the offensive line looks really good on paper, but when we factor in the injury history, right? AVT's coming off a season-ending injury. Mekhi Becton, two season-ending injuries back-to-back. Absolutely horrible. Max Mitchell, I believe, with the blood clots. Dwayne Brown, season-ending injury, and he's already, up there in age, and he totally battled last season. I think when we're just looking at it from like a Madden perspective, like names on paper, overall rankings, the Jets are in a good spot. But for me personally, if we are taking on Rodgers' contract, we are trading away draft picks, we're investing in a 40-year-old quarterback here, I want to cross my T's and dot my I's. I don't want to be going into the season with, major positions of need or extremely thin at specific positions. Now, the reason why this is relevant with Odell Beckham is because I don't know, I love Beckham as a player. I do. I think him and Rodgers would be so much fun to watch. But I think if I was Joe Douglas, $15 million a season is just, for me, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong here, and you guys can 1000% disagree. That's totally cool. I would actually love to hear your take down below in the comment section. But for me, I think $15 million for a Jets team right now is a little too high considering the overall talent at the wide receiver position, understanding that we have to trade assets to go get Rodgers, take on his deal, and also address numerous positions, factoring in safety, weak side linebacker, although I don't think those two needs are going to be as difficult to figure out as defensive tackle and, of course, offensive line here. I would love to have Beckham. I'm hoping the Jets do sign him. But again, for a $15 million annual price tag, personally, I think I would delegate the money elsewhere to shore up team needs. Now, of course, there is a positive flip side, right? There are a couple disclaimers here that you can argue. Number one, the Jets are loaded at wide receiver. So that kind of makes Corey Davis a little expendable, because if the Jets part ways with him, whether, he's a cap casualty, whether he's traded to the Packers in a Rodgers deal, whether he's traded to another team for maybe like a late round pick or a future pick, the Jets would be clearing 11 million dollars. I mean, so you can essentially, hey, we'll give Odell the 14, 15 mil and then pivot, move on from Corey Davis, and now it's kind of like we're only paying Odell 4 or 5 mil because of the money we're saving from Davis. That's one situation. The other is that you can set up a contract with Beckham to where, much like Allen Lazard. Keep in mind, Allen Lazard signed a 4-year contract worth $44 million total, but his cap hit for this season alone is 3.2. So he's not really hurting the Jets that much. $3.2 million, that's nothing. So in essence, you could bring Beckham in on a multi-year deal, right, where that first season he's not counting that much against the cap, but then later on, maybe in year 2 and with a couple of void years, now it's a little bit more expensive, right? In 2024, 2025, potentially dead cap hits. We have seen Joe Douglas really take advantage of this void year thing where, he's restructuring contracts and adding like 1 to 2 seasons of just void years where, it's essentially just kicking the can down the road. We hear the term all the time, but it's saving money now. But later on, years from now, we're just pushing off the money we owe until later, and these guys are reworking their deals. So, I could see that playing out. I could see it playing out that way. But especially if Odell wants to play for a contender, he obviously, not many contenders out there have like $80 million in cap space. It's just not realistic. Baltimore, Buffalo, these teams, there's only so much money to go around. The reason why you are a contender is because you're spending money on the team. There's a lot of talented players there, whether it's free agents or homegrown guys. You're not going to find many Super Bowl caliber teams that have 50, 60, 70 million in space. So I do think Odell, him and his team probably have that understanding of, okay, you know what, if I am signing on to Buffalo, if I am signing on to New York or Baltimore, maybe I can't get exactly what I want, right? That perfect number at $15 million annually. So we'll see how it plays out. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Do you want the Jets to go out and get Beckham? Would you rather pass? Again, for me, I think I would like Beckham. I think he would improve the team. I think, Rodgers and the OBJ connection would be insane. It'd be so much fun to watch. But for $15 million a season, it's just a little high for me. I would rather use that money on figuring out center, on figuring out weak side linebacker, on figuring out defensive tackle, and just shoring up the loose ends of the football team instead of tripling down at a position that I feel pretty good about. But again, I'm not saying I'm right here or anything like that. It's just my opinion. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. And as always, go Jets.